Hey, welcome in everybody to the Auburn Sports Recruiting Show. The Auburn Sports Recruiting Show, Alan. I got Alan Head here with me. Jeffrey Lee not with us tonight, handling some personal business or whatever he's doing. He's handling that. Me and Alan, Zach in the back. We will bring you recruiting news tonight. And I'm already saying tonight or today or tomorrow. And I will probably at least once or twice leave Alan hanging for about 15 seconds with my internet. So prepare you right there, Alan. How are you doing tonight, man?
I'm doing good, buddy. I'm doing good. I am going to miss Jeffrey. He's on assignment tonight, but I always look forward to it when it's just me and you. Sometimes we get a little bit more into the ball side of things.
Yeah.
And we're getting, we're right there at the precipice of the start of football season, right? So it's a good night to talk some ball. It's a good night to talk recruiting. Auburn on a little bit of a heater right now, or
Yeah.
maybe not a heater, but on a hit streak, and we'll see if they
Yeah.
can't continue that along.
Definitely some momentum building for Auburn's recruiting class. Now up to 11 commits if you're counting Travis Wakefield, the long snapper, and we are. You have to count the long snapper for sure. 11 commits. You picked up since the last time we talked, Alan, on the recruiting show. Auburn has picked up Jacques Wilks, 4-star linebacker from Wadley, Alabama. What are your thoughts on how that went down? Maybe the behind the scenes, if you will, of leading up to his commitment and how it took so long. Just everything that goes with it. What do you think about it?
Sure. Well, let's start with this. Jaquez Wilkes is his own person. I think, in fact, the intel that both you and I got cold independently was he's the kind of kid that's going to commit on his timeline, and he's not going to be pushed to do it any sooner than he was ready. But
Yes.
behind the scenes, we continuously heard good things, probably from about May moving forward, maybe even before that. And there was never really a doubt with the information we were receiving of who he was going to publicly commit to when he decided to do that. But it's a huge pickup for Auburn. I mean, you're talking about a top 100 player in the country at a position of need, in my opinion. Linebacker is one where they needed to add some bodies, specifically after losing Shadarius Tootle. Jermichael Garrett, they've now done that with Adam Balagoon Ali.
Yes.
And now this valued pickup. So, talk about the player a little bit. I think you and I have discussed it. He's a guy that plays both sides of the ball. He's the best athlete on his high school football team. But what I love about him is how the two positions that he plays kind of mirror each other from a trait standpoint: the lateral agility, the physicality, the speed, his change of direction. All of it's there. I mean, he's just a jumbo athlete. And the difference to me from him with JJ Falk last year, whereas I think I've always seen JJ as a guy that's going to grow into an edge or into a buck. I think Wilkes can actually play stand-up off-ball linebacker. And I'm not saying JJ can't. Maybe he'll get some run there this year. I just tend to believe his body's going to take him to the outside. Wilkes is a different kind of athlete, though. I kind of comp him, and I hate doing this because you always comp him to the successful guys, right?
Sure.
It's never like, you know what I mean, the guy from 5 classes ago who completely busted. But
Yeah. Yeah.
just from a demeanor standpoint, his positional versatility, being in a small school, and then kind of what I see him as in college, he reminds me a good bit of Jamie Collins from Southern Miss that went on to play for the New England Patriots, a guy that could play on ball as a pass rusher. He's a guy that could play off the ball as a stand-up linebacker. And I think you talked about it. He's playing in the box now. He sees things okay. It's not going to be foreign to him when he gets to Auburn and has to start reading his keys and doing things from that standpoint. And if he can play with a motor at a high level all the time, Auburn will have an extremely good player on their hands, regardless of where he lands in the defensive scheme.
Yeah, I can speak to this because I played small school ball. You as well, Alan, at
Yep.
Elba. I was even a smaller level than Elba. You in that league, you're playing in the box.
Yes.
That's what they're running. They're running wing T. They're running veer. They're running that kind of stuff. The old school offense where you have no choice. You're in the box. You're not spreading out. So you actually get a little bit of a boost in that area coming from a school like that, like Wadley. You watch a lot of his film. They run like the wing T, where
Mm-hmm.
he's that running back. All the schools they play do. So he's in the box working through traffic, having to get his eyes right with misdirections and counters and things of that nature. It'll be more if he's playing in the box on the next level, which we think he will be, at least to start,
Yeah.
he should have a pretty good idea of what to do there. I had that pick in for a while, Alan. I was April. I felt great about it, and it wasn't like Jireh. I was kind of back and forth on Jireh. I had that pick in, and I was going, oh, I might need to change that. Glad I didn't. But with Wilkes, I never wavered, man. I always felt pretty good about that one. A&M made some noise. A&M
Sure.
was actually on Wilkes longer than Auburn, in my opinion, based on going back to his beginning of his recruitment. Auburn has always been there, but A&M and Tennessee, Miami, they got on him pretty early. So Auburn kind of decided back in maybe January, February, like, whoa, this guy is the real deal. I think DJ Durkin got eyes on him and went, yes, that's my number one guy for Mike, Will, Edge, whatever. Doesn't matter. He's a front seven kind of player. And huge addition. I put him at number one in my class ranking after he committed. And I think it'll be tough to knock him off that top spot. He's a big-time player. Reminds me a little bit of Riddick coming out of high school.
Okay.
Different build. I mean, he's a couple inches taller. Their build is probably similar, but he probably has more length. And he's going to fill out that frame to what, like 235, 240, you think?
Yeah.
Somewhere
Easy.
in that range. But his raw athleticism, that reminds me of Riddick. I remember watching Riddick in high school, and Riddick didn't exactly have that physicality I wanted. His motor wasn't always running. I had to really work with my mind because my mind is motor. I got to see motor. I got to see you playing with every ounce of effort. And these guys that are that talented, they never had to do it.
No.
They've never had to. They don't have to. They think they don't know what that means until they get to the next level and they're watching everybody else. They watch Keldrick Falk come screaming off the edge at 290 pounds and they go, oh, I can do that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think don't worry about that as much. This guy's a rare, unique athlete. So I think that's a big pickup for Auburn. And then we probably touched on it with Jireh, man. How big of a deal is that?
It's a massive deal. For so long, Auburn didn't recruit what I would consider, like, they may have been listed as an offensive tackle in a Rivals or a 24/7 database, but they weren't like legitimate tackle bodies of guys that are going to be successful in the SEC, right?
Right.
This is another guy to go along with Brody Scholl in last year's class, to go along with Favor Edwin in the class before that, and to go along with TJ in the class before that. TJ Johnson, let me clarify, where you're really adding tackle bodies, guys with good athleticism, the feet to play out on the edge, and that have the capability of being starters and premium players in the SEC. And when you look at the competition with which you were fighting against, and yes, he's an Auburn legacy. Let's not discount that, right? Or say that didn't give Auburn an edge. I think that it absolutely did. But you still had to go out and beat Alabama. You still had to go out and beat Florida State. You still had to go out and beat Michigan. These are schools that recruit at an extremely high clip. So to win that battle for a premium position, and if we're utilizing that NFL model like you and I have talked about, right, you got to land guys at the premium spots every year, at offensive tackle, at pass rush, you know what I mean, at quarterback, at wide receiver, at corner. Those are positions where you're taking guys every year, and you better hit at those positions because those are the ones that change games. Those positions are absolutely the ones that change games. And Auburn now, in my opinion, is setting themselves up for success at that position by adding a player like him. Now, they need to continue to add more. You're going to have to go into the portal and add some guys that are ready to play for next year because I don't think Jireh is that guy just yet. I think he still needs about a season or two to get himself in the right kind of, I guess, just kind of change his frame even a little bit more. I mean, his frame's good, but change his weight.
Yeah.
Get him used to playing at the SEC level.
Sure.
So there's still some development there for him, but I love the upside. I love the body. I love the frame. I think he's got all the tools to be a 2 or 3 year starter for you in the SEC. And so it's just a value pickup at a premium position and one that Auburn sorely needed.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Jake Thornton haters. We're going, we're not worthy. We're not worthy. Eli, man. Even August West, I think, cracked a smile. Maybe
I
just a
think he
small
did.
one though. It was small.
It was. It was small. And look, I want to give August some credit because I do think he's a realist at times, right? Like
Yeah, he's a realist. Yeah,
I think he is very much a realist. He's got his own opinions about recruiting, and that's okay. I think that brings value to the board. But I do believe that Jake has done a good job at cultivating relationships. I don't think relationships are what win every recruitment. I'm on record as stating that it might not be the winning factor in a lot of recruitments. In this one, I think the NIL/rev share combined with his relationship with Jake Thornton, combined with his brother being a legacy, all kind of manifested itself into helping Auburn land this commitment.
and it all has to be there, and that's been the problem. I would say in the month of June, it was the problem. It wasn't all there, and it was very obvious.
Yeah.
And we touched on it 100 times here. We tried to figure it out. We talked through it, and maybe we couldn't pinpoint exactly what it is at all times, but we knew something of that. The big three was off. So it looks like that might be back in place.
Yes.
Would
Yeah.
you agree with that?
I think it's very much back in place. And I am going to go on record as saying this. I think it's something I've been saying for the last couple of shows. I think money has always been there for some prospects. Like, I don't think that it ever wavered on certain guys like Brylan Womack. Like, it was always there.
Yeah.
On our most recent commitment, it was always there for Jacques Wilkes. But for other guys, maybe not, right? And that's what's caused you to potentially lose some recruitments in the month of June. Now we'll see how many of those you can get back in the mix on. I think there's going to be a handful. I think there'll be 3 or 4 that they'll be able to flip down the stretch of guys that maybe they could have landed in June had everything been the way it should have been. But all that's behind Auburn now. I'm interested to see where it goes at this point. And can you continue on to add a guy like a Deron Parks? You know what I mean? Can you add a Brylan Womack? Can you add a valued piece at wide receiver in Jace Matthews? If you're able to put all that together, Auburn's in the top 25 in recruiting, and they're right where they probably need to be in striking distance of a legitimately top 15 class, maybe even top 10, contingent on how hot you get down the stretch.
And speaking of those 3, before we get into questions, those are that's like the big 3 that's left on the board for Auburn right now. Brylan Womack, 5-star safety from Mississippi. Deron Parks, who is kind of on the line of 3-star, 4-star, but I think he gets 4-star nod from Sarasota, Florida.
Yep.
And then you have who's the other one?
Oh, Jace Matthews.
Jace Matthews, receiver from Mississippi, who is in 5-star territory with rivals right now. I think we have dates on all 3 of those. Alan, I know Brylan Womack we talked about. I think you said it first. I echoed it. I'm pretty sure Jeffrey did, that we felt like Brylan Womack was going to move his decision up. Well, he didn't really, but he did a day, I think. August 21st. I think it was originally August 22nd.
I think you're right on that. I
think either way, he is going to go August 21st. According to Chad Simmons, I believe he put that out. So, the money thing is the reason why I felt confidence in Jaquez Wilkes the entire way through, Alan. That's why I didn't have confidence in Wilson Jireh and Deron Parks for a little while, because I was looking at the percentage and the situation and the NFL model that you mentioned, and I'm going, man, you're going to have to get some portal guys. You better. And I know they were thinking the same thing, and they were kind of racking their brains going, how are we going to get the guys we want and need in the high school class, but also take care of that huge need we're going to have in the portal? And I think they've worked it out by landing Wilson Jireh, by having some momentum with Deron Parks. That says to me they've worked that part out. They figured it out. They got the percentage down. They know what they can get, right? And we'll see how that goes when it comes portal time. But that, obviously you have to prepare for it, but it's not as – you got to get the guys now too. So there's some give and take there. There's some risk being had. And I do think Auburn's got a chance with Deron Parks. Florida State's the school I've heard about the most lately. Ohio State's always going to be in there too. I think, his camp seems to like Ohio State. Florida State is the in-state school. You got to watch that. He is originally from West Virginia, for those who don't know, Deron Parks.
Yep.
But Auburn seems to be the constant. That's what I put on the board Tuesday night, Alan, that whenever I get new info on him, Auburn's the constant. Are you hearing anything on Deron Parks?
I am not really all that much. I lean to you on this one. Unfortunately, I'm not very well sourced there, but I trust your intel. I have a lot of trust in what you're hearing. And so I think people should think that it is a 50-50 battle, probably with Florida State going down to his commitment date. You can't really discount Ohio State, but mostly from what I've heard on that angle in particular is that Ohio State may or may not have room for him.
Yeah.
So that's the part to me that's a little hard to place, but I think you're right. And I would also lean into what Chad reported. It was Chad, right? Or was it Steve?
I think it was Chad.
Okay. It was Chad that came out recently with the top 4 for Parks. And those top 4 were Auburn, Florida State, Ohio State, and Kentucky. But that most of John Garcia Jr.
John Garcia.
There we go. John Garcia Jr. Let's get the man's name right. Put some respect on it.
Man, listen, the merger, man. The merger's awesome.
I'm telling you.
It's everything you could want. Every personality, every reporting angle, all of that. If you don't know who we were talking about with August West earlier, you need to sign up and come find out.
You do. But John Garcia Jr. is great. He's somebody that I've watched for a long time in the industry, does a really great job with his sourcing. But what he was reporting is that Auburn and Florida State were kind of standing out right now. I think you've mirrored that with maybe a slight hat tip to Auburn at this point. And I think that's probably pretty fair, Cole.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting to see what the kind of the recruiting news is coming out of that one as we get into Friday. I think that's probably where we're going to know a little bit more about where Auburn stands officially as this thing is winding down.
I'll put it this way. If this were 2 years ago, I would have a prediction in for Deron Parks to Auburn right now. I would. But being that it's the way that it is now, I mean, what I'm hearing is that Auburn may be the favorite for Deron Parks and his camp. But I've been burned by that in this cycle a bunch of times, and I'm not going to do it again. So we're going to hang out and wait and see what happens. That's the intel I'm getting. It can go a lot of ways, though. I also get that.
Well, how desperate is Florida State going to be down the stretch? They haven't landed a tackle yet in this class.
That's what you can't. You just can't account for that. You can't. And you don't know how much they're going to put into it. And then it becomes, a pressure thing. Like, hey, they got the biggest offer on the table. You know how it goes, Alan. This is just the way it is. And it's why I have not put in a prediction, even though I hear very favorable things for Auburn. Real quick, touch on Brylan Womack, Jace Matthews. What are we feeling on those guys? I'm still the same on Brylan Womack, where I might give Auburn the slightest of edges. But Ohio State, man, is going to be tough to beat them in this. And Florida's right there as well. They've done a great job. So where do you lean? I mean, what are you thinking on that one?
I'm calling it 50-50 at this point between Auburn and Ohio State for Brylan Womack. I do think Florida's in it, but I think the other two have kind of pulled themselves away. I know that the people that I speak to are very confident that Auburn is a real factor in this recruitment and can absolutely get this one down the stretch. I think you never say never in recruiting. You know what I mean? As far as discounting any other team, which is why Ohio State, the childhood favorite to me, I can't go beyond that 50-50 at this point. But I really do. I mean, I'm close to saying advantage Auburn, like very close to wanting to say that. I'm not going to, just because, again, I'm with you, the fear of the unknown, the fear of who's going to prioritize who down the stretch. But this is one that Auburn needs to win. This is a kid that brings a lot of value to the back end for you, an already talented secondary, but a kid that elevates that room. And then some. He brings you some positional versatility in being able to play either the star or either of the two deep safety spots. So would love it if they could add the kid in the class. I think he's extremely talented, and not just talented, but brings the kind of mentality that you want within that locker room, and it's going to mix with the culture that they've tried to bring here to Auburn, or this coaching staff's tried to bring. Just a really great kid all the way around, good parents, good head on his shoulders, and a phenomenal football player.
He is. I will say I feel pretty good about the investment and prioritization
Yes.
of Brylan Womack and Jace Matthews. I feel pretty good about those two. And Parks. I'm starting to feel better about that side of things with Parks too. And that's why I think I'm getting some more confidence in that maybe happening for Auburn. But there's still a lot to play out. Those guys have dates set, and there's weeks in between, days in between, and you know how that goes in recruitment.
Yes, you do.
So we will continue to monitor those. Zach, let's go ahead and jump into these questions. We talked a lot, man, and maybe we touched on some of these things, but let's see what you guys want to know. Question number 1, Barner Becca 98. Out of Auburn's top targets that have committed elsewhere, so talking about flip targets here, who do y'all think Auburn has the best shot at flipping by signing day, December?
Oh, best shot at flipping.
I'm looking at Mississippi State, Alan. That's where my mind goes first.
I think that's fair. You thinking Dalton Toothman? Or you thinking Caleb Morris?
Both.
Okay.
Both. I know Auburn loves Dalton Toothman. Again, we'll have to see how that O-line situation plays out. That's hard to predict.
Sure.
I know they like him, and if there's room, if there's an opportunity to get him, I know they'll push.
I don't think you're wrong on that. Those are good. Those are good because those are two positions where you need to add players.
Yes.
And so, you know what I mean? We always knew this was going to be a bigger offensive line class, and the defensive line, you don't have anybody at this point. So those would both be value adds. There's a part of me, and I know that I may be reaching a little bit, or maybe wish casting. Maybe that's a better word for it. But to me, Corey Wells is one that I think this staff has a really high grade on, and somebody they're going to continue to work all the way down the line. Maybe you don't have the best percentage odds, but I think he's the guy on the board at the position of need where Auburn is really going to be invested down the stretch. And I think they're going to give it everything they got to make sure they flip this kid.
I think Auburn's D-line class is going to be all flips by the time it's over.
Going to have to be.
Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah.
Uncommitted. Vodney Cleveland's committed to Texas. He's on the table, I guess. Corey Wells, Texas. Caleb Morris, Mississippi State. You have the guy they just offered from Rutgers.
Really like him.
Page, is that his name? Tavion?
Yeah, is it Tavion Brown?
Not sure. Let's see.
This is great podcasting right now.
Oh, yeah. You know how it goes.
Maybe Zach can do us a favor and do some
Tavion Branch.
Tavion Branch. Okay, not
you were
Brown.
so close with Brown.
Yes.
Gosh, VR. You had it.
Yeah.
So close.
Yeah.
I don't know about him yet. I'm not sure. But the late offer, you go, yeah.
Right. What do they know? What do they know with that late of an offer for a kid that's outside the zone? They must think they have some kind of shot to get him to at least officially visit, and then we'll kind of see from there. Ernest Rankins is a name that's not going to go away. I think that's somebody that's a top 5 positional player for Von Trell on the board. And we'll see.
Wilson.
Nolan Wilson, definitely a big target for Auburn.
Yep. They're going to have to play the flip game for D-line. And, again, we pointed out, and I believe it was Chad who had a story on 2027 D-lineman from Hueytown, Donovan Moore. The 27 class is loaded. So, yeah. I do feel like there's going to be a lot of investment in those guys. I mean, the 2027 in-state class is loaded. We talked about that on the last one. Donovan Moore is one of your headliners there and likes Auburn a lot, likes Von Trell, King Williams, and there seems to be a lot of emphasis being put on him. Elijah Brown from Prattville. So, again, you're talking about this NFL model, percentage. How does this work? Exactly. We're still learning. It's going to look a little different, I think, as far as order of operations goes in recruiting.
Yeah.
Which is why, and I meant to touch on it, Auburn has now hired some new guys on staff to help coordinate that and organize it. Javon Hubbard from Arkansas they got Rex. What was it? It starts with H.
Rex Hogan.
Rex Hogan. Like Hulk.
Yeah, man. So I actually was thinking of the Hulkamaniacs. I was going to start to.
Yeah. Anyway, they've hired both of these guys. I think they're there to actually help coordinate exactly what we're talking about right now. I mean, this Rex Hogan guy from the Jets, he was with the Jets, he was with the Bears. His job was scouting college players. I think he's going to probably do that for the portal, if I had to guess, coming in. And then Javon Hubbard from Arkansas probably going to handle your high school stuff and organize it and get percentages and make sure that you're not overspending here and not underspending here and that whole game. So I will be very interested to see that play out and see those guys get into their roles when they come into Auburn. Question number 2, Ruby Sips. What positions will Auburn focus primarily on in the transfer portal and not high school during 26? Looking way ahead, Fruby.
Yeah. I saw this question and I kind of put a little bit of thought into it. And I think Auburn's going to tap every spot. Like, I don't think they're going to skip a position and not recruit it in high school, but it's about layering that depth on top of it. So you're looking at positions where you're losing a lot, particularly from a seniority standpoint, where you're going to want a veteran to come in. And I think the positions that stick out to me are going to be offensive line and defensive line. You're losing a chunk at both of those. I think, 4 or 5 offensive linemen?
Yeah.
And then you're also losing 6 defensive linemen, I believe. Well, potentially 6 if Keldrick Falk were to turn pro. And I think everybody would think at this point that's more likely than not.
Definitely.
Edge is a position I think that they're probably going to address in the transfer portal. You're losing 2 senior edges. Now, you've done well. You've recruited guys like Joe Phillips, and others at that position that are going to be guys that I think are going to come on. But do you want a veteran to come in that room to mix with some of that good young talent that you've recruited? So that's one. And then tight end. Tight end's the other one to me, where I think you're going to need to get a veteran inline piece because of what you're losing this year. You're losing Tate Johnson. I don't know how much he'll actually contribute. Maybe you'll get a lot of inline play out of him. It'll be interesting to see. And then you're also losing Brandon Frazier, who's going to be kind of your constant or potentially your starter at the tight end position. So that one, those are the 4 to me that I'm kind of watching, where I think Auburn's going to invest some time and some money in the transfer portal to kind of account for some of what they're losing off this year's roster.
I think you can, again, looking at it from an NFL model, you can look at the high school class right now and go now earlier, like back in the winter, springtime, it felt like Auburn's going to go for 3 to 4 receivers, and now it feels like 1 to 2. I think what that means is they're leaving a spot open for the portal to help layer the depth, because, you're going to be young in that room.
Yeah.
So you better find, you're losing your Eric Singleton more than likely.
Yes.
Probably going pro. Horatio Fields, I think, is going to run out of eligibility. Is that correct?
That's correct.
So you're going to need an older, experienced player in that room. And they probably looked at it as a whole and said, we don't need to use all of our resources on 4 spots from high school. We got to save something for the portal for that reason. So you can look at it from that standpoint.
No, I think you're spot on, Cole, particularly that position. And then here's the unassuredness of what's going to happen with Malcolm Simmons. And again, I don't want to speculate too much on his situation. We want to be we want to be very fair with how we address things with Malcolm and ask people not to rush to judgment on either side.
Yeah.
But I think it would be ill-advised to not acknowledge that there's the potential that, there's some unassuredness there of what his position is on the roster moving forward. And so if you were to lose him in addition to the other 2 that you've just talked about, well, now you have more vacancies in that room where you're going to need a guy that can come in and immediately be, your number 2 receiver or potentially your number 3 receiver. Cam's going to be your 1 coming back, but how far does Sam Turner come along? How far does Perry Thompson come along? Those are things you don't know just yet. And so if you're playing the game of allocation of funds, you're probably earmarking, hey, I need to get a number 2 or 3 guy out of the portal potentially this year, just because I don't know exactly what I'm going to have back in that room just yet.
Yeah. Yep. There are some question marks there, and it is what it is when you're talking about the Malcolm Simmons situation. It's impossible not to address. We just don't know what's going to happen with that situation yet. It's still up in the air, and I'm sure that's going to be part of the recruiting plan too, if something happens there.
Has to be.
Question number 3, D Lucky. who is the kid we could have had that we dropped the ball on based on the conservative approach and have no chance to recover with? Who is the first kid to go after now with a modified offer? Okay. Let me try to get that right in my brain there, D. Lucky. Do you think there's anybody out there that Auburn can't recover with at all?
Can't recover with it all. No, and that's kind of why I wanted to address this one. I mean, I think there are guys that Auburn has prioritized more than others where they've maintained strong relationships. Rodney Cleveland is one that comes to mind. I think you and I disagree a little bit because I don't know. I get mixed reviews on how much Auburn really wants him in this class, right? And if I'm getting that, what is Rodney receiving? So I think that one may be difficult, but the in-state ties make you believe that he'll always be available for you to come back to. As far as the prioritization of funds, maybe a guy like Ernest Rankins that you were really close on before. It was either Auburn or Florida State.
Yeah.
If the money is equal now, does that change anything for him? I don't know. But it would make sense as how close that recruitment was to landing Auburn's way. I think there were people on Auburn's staff that felt like they were in the pole position for a long time with him. And so if that were true, or that is true, and money is the equalizer, does that change some of the dynamic in that recruitment? So that's one I'm going to pay attention to because of that factor.
That's a good one. I'm looking at guys that officially visited and felt like Auburn either made a move for or was in good position for at the time. I like it. Maybe even Nolan Wilson keeps coming up in my mind for some reason. I always felt like Auburn was in it with him along with Alabama. Maybe even Jay Lamar. I don't know if they would, we'll see how they handle the running back position. I don't know how they're going to do that yet. Portal.
That one's interesting. That one's really interesting.
It is. But, those are the kind of guys. I mean, it felt like Auburn made a huge move for Jay Lamar at the time. It felt like Auburn made a huge move for Nolan Wilson. You have to, then you look across the board at all the positions. You go, okay, secondary, I think you're pretty much good there. Brylan Womack's the guy. Maybe Dylan Purter. That's a guy, of course.
For sure.
Linebacker looks good. Maybe you go back for Tootle.
Yeah.
D-line, edge. Those are the positions. O-line, maybe. Even though, if you get Deron Parks on O-line, you might go, oh, we're good. So, D-line edge. I think that is where you're really hammering home to some of these guys. Tank Jones, that's a guy. For sure.
Yeah, Tank would be one you would have to get back in the mix with. I think Auburn missed his top three. What is it? Alabama, A&M, and Oregon. Is that the top three right now?
Yes. Not going to be easy, of course, but these are the positions that you're going to have, we would think, going to have some resources for down the stretch. It's what you need. It's what Auburn should be willing to spend on. So, question 4, Shay 0805. What percentage chance would you give Auburn of landing Deron Parks, Jace Matthews, and Brylan Womack?
Ooh.
This is definitely a Jeffrey hotboard question.
Yeah.
Let's see, what does Jeffrey have on his latest hotboard?
He's got Brylan at 50-50, Jace at 55%, and I think Parks at 50%. So I think he got
50.
Yeah.
He's got, you're right. Matthews at 55.
Mm-hmm.
And then defense, he's got, I think, 50 for Brylan Womack.
And I think I would agree with Jeffrey on all of those. And we've all talked through the hotboard percentages together. I mean, it's no secret that we bounce ideas off each other. But
55, by the way. Yeah. Excuse me. 55 for Womack.
Ooh.
In the last update.
Okay. I like Jeffrey's confidence on that. And from the sourcing I have, I wouldn't disagree. I think it's my own maybe callousness of me not going 55.
100. That's it. That is the holdup. I mean,
right? You know what I mean?
100%. It's our caution that's holding us back right now? Because the news does not say that.
No, no. What I've heard is different, but I also understand that things change, and so you don't want to be too extreme one way or another with kind of how you're relating what you're relaying, not relating, what you're hearing. So I want to be cautious, very cautious with how I kind of feel or openly state about that one. But I do think Auburn has a legitimate shot. I do.
I think 55 might be accurate for all three.
Okay.
Is where I'm leaning as of today. Now that is not a prediction. I would like to put that on record.
Sure.
It's not a
Clarify,
prediction.
please.
That is as of Thursday morning as you're watching this. I think it could be at 55 for all three. If that's the case, Alan, which of the three do you think is least likely at this point, in your opinion?
I'm with, okay. I'm going to go Parks just because I don't have information on that one. I'm leaning on you guys for that. I don't have a good feel there. The other two I have a much better feel about, and because of that, or I have better information on, I'm going to say Parks. But that's not to discount what you're hearing. It's just because I'm not hearing anything.
No, I get it. Mine would probably be Womack just because of the history of 5-star DBs. You know how I feel about that.
Sure, sure.
And just Ohio State, gonna be tough, man. It's gonna be tough. If you beat them in this recruitment, I don't care where he's from. That Ohio State's the standard. If you can win that one, you've done something.
Absolutely.
You've done something. And Florida ain't giving up either. I would like to say that as well.
No, definitely not, because they're trying to make a statement just like Auburn is.
Right. If NIL is equal, if money is equal in all three of these, would you give Auburn the edge if you knew that for sure?
Yes, I would.
I think so too.
I think the family dynamic is what changes it for me. And I know, again, childhood favorite Ohio State, they're the national champion. I get all that. But I still think at the end of the day, the mom, the dad, they're going to have a say in this situation. And with his sister being at Auburn, having both children play at the same school, the benefits of that, not having to divide your family when you're driving all over the country because you have two ultra talented children that are playing sports at the highest level in the college game. I think that matters. I honestly do. So the relational piece is there, and I think it's going to kind of help where Auburn might not have had an in otherwise. I think that created an opportunity for them, and they've done the best with it.
Question 5, Weagle Weagle WDE. What defensive lineman do you feel the best about Auburn landing or flipping in this class? We touched on D-line a lot, but is there one guy that you feel the best about right now?
No, it's too early for me right now to feel best about anybody, honestly. And I don't want to give like a chicken shit answer, man. I think things have changed recently. With the most recent news that's come out about the College Sports Commission and kind of their interpretation of the new soft cap, how Auburn can attack that with additional NIL deals from the collective. I think that's probably an equalizer for Auburn in a couple of these recruitments.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see who they prioritize. I don't have enough information yet to say I feel better about one than the other. I lean Caleb Morris just because he's in state. And I know that there are people inside the building that really like that young man. And I think if Auburn wants him, they can get him. What I don't know just yet is how high he is on Auburn's board. And that's the piece I'm waiting to hear back. Again, I've talked about Ernest. I think he's a guy that's going to continue to be in consideration for Von Trail. I think Corey Wells is a name that they really love. The question is, can you flip him from Texas? They've got a lot going for them in that recruitment. So it'll be interesting, man. I don't give them much shot for Sone at this point. I think Georgia's got that one pretty well wrapped up. Maybe Vodney. So, and then there are a litany of new guys they just offered, with Tavion Branch being the one guy that sticks out to me when I've watched the film on all three of those new offers. I think the other is the Pope kid from Kentucky. And then you've got the Clark kid out of Florida that just committed to Georgia Tech. But if I'm picking one out of that group, I kind of like Branch's tape the most. I think he's a kid that could be potentially a 4-star before it's all said and done.
Yeah. Yeah, he's pretty active. There's another guy we haven't really talked about at all. He's not committed anywhere. And he's from Bessemer City. Emmanuel Ruffin.
Yeah, he's a new name, and I haven't watched much of him. Maybe he's the guy, right?
Yeah, I'll be honest. I don't know much about him. I don't. I don't think I've ever seen him at Auburn, even though he is an in-state guy. But he's a 4-star with every site that you look at, and I believe Jeffrey added him to his last hot board. And there's been a story maybe by Chad or Steve Wiltfong that Auburn's interested in communicating. So that's another guy to keep an eye on is Emmanuel Ruffin from Bessemer City, Bessemer, Alabama. All right. Question 6, Carter Man, old Bammer lover. If we land Brylan Womack, is there any chance we also take Jireh Edwards?
Take? Absolutely. Yeah. Auburn loves that kid. They would do whatever they could to land him if it were feasible. And I will say this about Jireh, and I think I have this on pretty good information. But we didn't lose him, or Auburn didn't lose him because of money. Money was not the issue on that one. I think it was Alabama being able to sell who they've put in the NFL at this point, the development program that they have in place, the history that they have, and the success they have at his position. Like I think that was a huge deal for him. So really what you could do for Jireh to get yourself back in pole position with him is to go out and win football games and to develop football players at the safety position. Like continue to show that a Jacoby Matthews can come in here with not even having gone through a spring or played football in a year and show out in this defense. Continue to show Caleb Harris's development. Those are the kind of things that are going to get Jireh Edwards' attention. Because, again, I think the money's always been there for him. I don't think that's going to be an issue.
Yeah.
But I do think you have a little bit of a development issue of being able to show that you can put guys in the league and develop guys at a high enough level to combat what he would be able to accomplish at Alabama.
And he said as much the last time we talked to Jireh when he was on his official visit. He said, NIL, whatever. I'm more worried about my long-term wealth in the NFL, I believe was his quote or close to it anyway. And it almost feels like Auburn doesn't have enough time to prove that, whereas Alabama's got all these guys that have gone to the pros. And he trusts that process. Yeah. Auburn's had some guys that have been drafted, but you're talking about first rounders, second rounders that are DBs, maybe, if a guy like Caleb Harris starts getting some buzz about it, some draft buzz, which he probably will, Jacoby Matthews, some of these, Jay Crawford, you can even go to those guys. Question 7, Blake R. Reading Chad Simmons' article with quotes from Womack about his top 4 schools. Mm-hmm. I believe it was it was Chad. It appears Auburn and Ohio State are his top 2. What are your percentages that Auburn is actually the leader?
I mean, I think Jeffrey's got it right. I think 55% would be, because it's tough, man. Again, you know what you hear, but you also understand that there are people on Ohio State side that think that it's a favorable matchup for them as well. And so you're trying to balance what you're hearing from all sides of it and give an accurate percentage. Again, I want to be firm on this. I think there are people at Auburn that 100% believe Auburn is a real contender here to win this one, like feel good about winning this one. Yeah. This is more about me than it is about anything else. And I would say that 55 is probably as high as I could go right now with Brylan, but there's a legitimate opportunity. Absolutely legitimate opportunity to win this one.
There is. I think 55 is good for now. We'll monitor. We will monitor, and so will Jeffrey when he's putting out the hot boards.
Yes.
Question 8, AU Brian 98. If we go all in now with our funds, who are the top 3 we're probably throwing the bank at right now?
I think it's the 3 that are about to commit.
Easily. The big 3. Brylan Womack, Jace Matthews, Deron Parks.
Yes. Those are the 3 that you're throwing money at right now. It is always easier to get kids committed the first time, I think, than it is to flip them. Yeah. And because of that, that's where I'm prioritizing my funds at this point.
For sure. Let's just hold hold that question because I'm sure we'll have a new three to talk about as soon as those three come off the board. It'll turn into flips at that point, and we
Oh,
will address that.
I've already got a post ready to go as soon as we get off. I had my top five uncommitted targets, and now I'm going to have my top 5 flip targets just as soon as we get to the conclusion of a Brylan Womack commitment.
There we go. All right, question 9, KD 1057. With the new NIL ruling, do you guys think that we go over or under 20 half commits from high school?
22 and a half. I'm going to go under.
That's a great line, by the way.
It is. It
Great
is.
line.
I think my initial read on the class is that I thought it would be 22, 23-ish.
Yeah.
I've dropped that now down to between, I think, 18 to 20, and I feel a little bit more comfortable in that range. So I'm going to go under, not by much. Like, I think this class honestly probably is going to wind up at around 20 prospects, 18 to 20. Maybe they get north of that, but I get the feeling that this staff is not going to sacrifice quality for quantity. Like, they're going to still take guys that they believe in that are high on their board, and they'll augment what they need through the transfer portal for the additional spots in the class.
I'm going to defer to what we've heard Jeffrey say a few times here. You know how Hugh Freeze feels about a top 10 class.
You do. But he's backed up on that some. I've heard him recently say he doesn't know as much about top 10 as it is about retention being, the top part of it. So
yeah,
maybe he's changing his pitch, but Jeffrey's right. Hugh's got a lot of pride, and to watch him walk back on that would be difficult at this point, as much as he said, I need 3 top 10 classes.
If it goes over 22 and a half, I would literally say 23, and I don't think it'd go any more than that. That's as high as I'm willing to go.
Yeah.
So I think that's a good line. I would probably bet on the under, but I think the over is possible, 23. I think that could be a number.
Sure.
By the end of it. So question 10, Cam and Cheese. Does the recent news on the collectives not being counted towards the rev share cap help or hurt Auburn, in your opinion? That's a good question. I think it helps.
I think it helps in the majority of situations. I think it probably hurts you in some, particularly against teams that have deeper pockets, like a Texas or maybe a Texas A&M. If you're in a battle against one of those, because they just have very deep pockets, and if the cap is unlimited,
boo koodles, I believe
yes,
some might say.
Boo koodles would be right. That's going to hurt you in some, but overall, I think it helps Auburn more than it hurts Auburn for sure.
I think it helps because it's almost like these hard line rules that we thought were there are now alleviated somewhat. I mean, it's still a little more maybe structured than it was before.
Sure,
but it's also open. We thought it was going to be closed off a little bit more, and now it seems like it's more open than it was going to be.
Yeah, and I'm still waiting to see how open, because they're supposed to announce some kind of settlement conversation. The attorneys from the House settlement or the plaintiffs, Jeffrey Kessler, and I'm trying to think of his counterpart there. I think it's Berman. But they're supposed to announce some kind of an agreement between themselves and the CSC / the Power 4 conference commissioners. Like, they're going to have some kind of announcement basically stating what the guidelines are going to be. So when we get that whole piece, that will probably tell me how much more successful Auburn's going to be. But at this juncture, I tend to believe it's going to significantly help more than it's going to hurt, contingent on the recruitment or the matchup you're in.
I agree. I personally think the more open it is, the more it helps Auburn, because I'm never worried about Auburn having money. I think they've got it. I think they've got the investment. I think they got the buy-in. I think they got the boosters. I think they got the money, bottom line. So that was a good one to end it on, Cam and Cheese. You're one of Jeffrey's favorites, I think.
Oh, for sure.
A few how about you. Do you have any how about yous tonight, Alan?
I do. I want to go with Chip.
Chip.
Yeah. Chip. D Lucky.
D Lucky.
Yep.
Okay.
Wardam Jones. And I
Okay.
want to give August West some love here.
Oh,
We had like a little nice, healthy back and forth. I always respect somebody that has a contrarian viewpoint because I think it helps you be a little bit more well-rounded
sure.
in how you're seeing things or the perception of things. And so I enjoy that part of it when somebody has a different outlook and maybe it changes my thought process. So maybe it doesn't. But regardless, the fact that somebody has their own opinion and they're willing to have that conversation, I think it always adds a little bit to the board.
I agree. I agree, Alan. Okay, I have three to go along with yours. Um, First and foremost, Ebenezer Scrooge. I wanted to give him one for sure. As he posted that he's been diagnosed with pulmonary fibrosis on our board, and prayers for him.
Yes, yes,
Looks like the Corner family, the Bunker family, everybody's wrapped him up in prayers, and I wanted to mention him too. So,
for
um,
sure.
Ebenezer Scrooge, and then my other two are Hag Daddy and Mercer Tiger 11. Hag Daddy and Mercer Tiger 11. How about you to those guys? How about you to yours as well, Alan? That was Chip Chip, D Lucky, Wardam Jones, August West. Was that everybody?
Let me give two more.
Okay.
This one got a call out on our, or a shout out on our call in show. But let me give a how about you to Jeff Thorne. Thinking
Yeah.
about you and the Thorne family. For those that are interested in donating, I think they've got a GoFundMe there now. Please
Yes.
do that. Keep the Thorne family in your thoughts and prayers if you're so inclined. And then I want to toss one to my man, JG Tate. Thoroughly enjoyed his. Is somebody who's also a consumer of the product here at auburnsports.com. Really enjoyed his coverage of SEC Media Days and the brief
Yeah.
recap he was able to give for each coach that spoke. I didn't get an opportunity to listen to SEC Media Days that much. So having an opportunity at night to read kind of some of Jay's thoughts and what he interpreted, some of what the coaches said, I always find some value in that and kind of how I'm analyzing things moving to the next season. But love Jay, love what he brings to the site, and just thoroughly enjoy his writing.
Yeah, he's awesome, man. I'm really enjoying getting to read his stuff. B Matt, Caleb, man, they
Yes,
have brought so much to the table for us, and as we've joined up, man, together, it's just awesome. You can join us for $1 for a week, like a trial. I think you can even get if you do an annual, you can get a subscription to the Athletic. I saw that on there today.
I did. That's a hell of a deal to get the Athletic wrapped in with this.
Perks, baby,
I'm
perks.
telling you.
That's what it's all about. So come join us, man, if you're not already. We appreciate you being here tonight. And everyone who has questions, we always appreciate them. Hopefully, we answered them for you. Jeffrey will be back with us, I'm thinking, for the call-in show on Sunday night when we get back to that, and the recruiting show next week. So, again, we appreciate you guys being here with us, and sign up for auburnsports.com on 3 Rivals. We got it all. For Alan, for Zach in the back, for myself, we will see you next time.